And today I'm with Joey Zanaboni. How are you, Joey?
Hey, I'm good. How about yourself?
Not bad, not bad. Having a good day. I've had a chance to chat with about 8 people today for Free Agent Fridays. So it's good and bad. It's bad that there's so many people out there that have been affected by this, but meeting some great people. So I'm
Good.
excited. And you being from St. Louis, and I spent some time there, so that's kind of cool. But walk us through kind of your college days and then into some of your first internships.
Well, Andrew, again, thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be with you. It's a tough time for everybody. Today minor league baseball was officially canceled. Kind of a non-surprising surprise at this point, but yeah, I can add myself, I guess, to the list of technical free agents. Though I am still with quote unquote the Johnson City Cardinals, though the team won't be active this year. And to get to the point now in 2020, working for an affiliated minor league team or from my college days, a little bit of a crazy story. I was a poetry major in college, spent more time reading T.S. Eliot than I did watching Carl Ravitch. I was obsessed with, sort of that modernistic Ezra Pound, T.S. Eliot kind of poetry, some of the beats, Allen Ginsberg, stuff like that. I took a job out of college, a couple of jobs, and felt kind of a malaise, felt like I was spinning my wheels and wanted to challenge myself. And one of the things that always stuck with me from my college days was this sort of thesis that there were only two great original American art forms, the Western and jazz. And I felt like there was a third that I could add to that list, which is sports announcing, baseball announcing in particular. There's an American flavor to it, and it is my contention in this day and age that some of that flavor has gone out of it, sacrificed on the altar of stringent analytics and things like that. Took a job at KTRS 550 in St. Louis and learned some of the nuts and bolts, and ended up with the Derby Twins in the Jayhawk Collegiate League in 2014. It was my first summer calling baseball. And then team you're familiar with, the River City Rascals, hired me in 2014. I was briefly with an affiliate of the Los Angeles Angels in 2015, the Orem Owls, but I ended up resigning that position because the ownership and the executives of the team wanted to do a promotion called Caucasian Heritage Night that I felt was racist and had many negative connotations to it. And so I resigned from that position and ended up working in the independent baseball for about another 4 years. 3 of those were with the Texas Airhogs in the Dallas area. That's the American Association, and had some wild times with that club. It had some crazy times. Culminated in the last season that I was with them, we partnered with the Chinese national baseball team and became the Texas Airhogs, powered by Beijing Shogun Eagles. And I was fascinated by the experience and almost felt like it was an out-of-body experience. I was someone who had worked in professional baseball. You meet many people from many different walks of life from around the world. But this group of Chinese players, about 40 of them that we saw throughout the summer, really changed my thinking, not just on what baseball is about, but really what reality can be. It wasn't long before I was, resorting, I guess, and embracing, not resorting, really embracing a more individualistic and upbeat style. I remember once I was talking to Xingping Liu, who was a graduate student at the University of Indiana, and she was the translator for the team. And I asked her if there were people out there in Chengdu and Shanghai and Beijing listening. And she looked at me and said, no, it can't get through the government censors. And I went down on my knee in the suites area in the stadium, and I laughed like a hyena. I mean, I was ringing with laughter at the vast expanse of the world and that feeling that comes inside of every sports announcer and really finds a home. And that's the feeling of the abyss and the feeling of, are we just out here screaming like Lear into the void? And it wasn't long before I was, making calls after that, like Sean Stutzman sitting them down quicker than extra strength laxatives. And it started to get some traction online. And I was hired by the Cardinals. And from there, I think, I had the greatest season I ever had in 2019. It was every single night, pioneering. I was inspired by the kids. It was a very good team, and we had to come back in both of our playoff series after kind of sneaking into the playoffs, but we won the championship. And I think the whole experience kind of, gave me a greater well of creativity that inspired other calls that I'm really proud of, because they embrace the individualism of the American road, and an individualism that maybe has been lost in baseball. And in between, I've worked at 3 different colleges: Kahoma Community College, University of West Florida, and St. Mary's University in San Antonio. So that's a little bit about my background. I know I went a little bit down the rabbit hole, but
No, it's good.
plenty more, I'm sure.
So how do you go from poetry to sports? Like what, I could see some connection from poetry because, you're verbalizing and whatnot, but did you have a passion for sports, growing up, or when did this come across?
Yeah. When I was in junior high school and high school, I guess my party trick was naming every World Series winner. And people in my class used to just ask, who won the World Series in 1964? Who won the World Series in 1978? Cardinals, Yankees. And it went on for years, really. And it was almost, I remember being at a mixer, kind of a school dance type thing. And I was talking to this girl, I think it was in 9th grade. And all of a sudden, this guy just kind of comes around the corner. He says, "Oh, Joey, who won the World Series in 1949? And it almost felt like bullying, because at that point I realized I was just sort of a novelty to them. I was just a stats nerd. And as I got a little bit older, I started to see sports, professional sports especially, as a distraction from, more important things maybe in the world or in life, which is kind of a conceited view, and it's kind of a little bit of a lost perspective, but I kind of distanced myself from them. And I threw myself more into trying to learn about poetry and trying to learn about, just art, I guess, in general. And when I graduated college, I think I gained a little more perspective and realized that that was something I wanted to do, was to go into announcing. I was able to sort of synthesize the 2 kind of parts of myself into something more original than I think I would have otherwise. And even for the first couple of years that I was in sports announcing, I think I still felt like, what am I really doing here? What is really the greater point? And there was one thing that happened that really changed my perspective. I remember it was May of 2016, and it was my first game I did with the Air Hogs, and we had an internet radio broadcast. There's no video, and the other team, the Fargo Moorhead Red Hawks, was doing no broadcast. It was just a preseason game, and we had this guy named Derek Callahan pitching, and Derek was a lefty from Gonzaga, pitched for the Yankees organization for a couple of years, and he was supposed to go 2 innings, and he throws a 2-2 pitch, the guy on first in a 0-0 game, and off the bat comes his laser line drive up the middle, and it smacks him in the face at about 108 miles per hour is what they estimated it at. And he threw pretty hard. He threw about 92 or so. So, and this thing hitting him in the face sounded the same as it did coming off the bat. And he goes down on the turf, and there's nobody in the stands because it's a preseason game. And I hear the entire thing all the way up we had a suites area press box, and people are pouring out of the dugout, the training staff, the coaches, and everybody. And I swear I thought he was dead. And right before the game, I had been sitting there looking at our little software streaming program, and there was a little feature where you can make a username so you could, send messages to the broadcaster, and I could see one of the fans was named P. Callahan. So I figured it was, his mom or dad or whatever, his aunt. And in independent baseball or affiliated minor league baseball, the majority of your audience is usually just family or friends. And the other thing I remember about that before the game was I looked at the ticker and said, well, there's only 46 people listening. I was a little bit disappointed. Even that's a pretty good crowd now for independent baseball. And in that moment where he went down, immediately the gravity of the situation struck me that I could be narrating on this internet radio stream with kind of a poor connection the last moments of their son's life. They were in Seattle, Washington. And it took about 20 minutes, and I just said what I saw. I didn't try to do, anything crazy. And finally, he got to his feet, and he started to walk out of the field under his own power. And I exhaled, and I just said, "He's going to be all right. He's going to be all right." And it felt like I was just talking directly to his family. And he was. He had 2 surgeries. He had a plate put in his face. And we went on with this season. Actually, I think he had 2 plates put in his face. We went on with the season, and it was just this crazy. We were almost like a travel team. We had a home stadium, but we were playing 75 road games out of 100 total games, just for kind of other sort of different reasons. And we were kind of living on this bus, and we were traveling all around and staying in these crappy hotels. And the team wasn't very good. We were 34 and 65. And with about 30 games to go, we were going to Joplin, Missouri. And Derek Callahan got back on the bus. He came back. He came all the way back from those surgeries. And that night in Joplin, I did an interview with him before the game. We talked about the experience and all that he went through. And he said, that night, my mom really appreciated the announcing. And I teared up. And of course, I teared up, on the pregame show. And I had cried like a dog, the night that he got hit. He came out of the bullpen against the Joplin Blasters that night, 3 1/3, 10 in a row set aside. And he probably struck out 4 or 5 of them. And to me, that was not just the most courageous thing I've ever seen on a baseball field. That was the most courageous thing I've probably ever seen by anyone, in any walk of life. There was no reason for him to come back except the determination within himself. And it was in that moment that I realized, how much of an impact sports can really have, because they bring your emotions and your personal character to the forefront.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know how he ended up getting back out there. I don't think I could have done it. But I mean, that's amazing. When you were kind of getting into this, I mean, do you have somebody that has kind of been like your go-to as far as like play-by-play person or broadcaster that you've kind of looked up to, or kind of, want to, be like, or, reach that status?
Well, that's an easy one. Ken Wilson from the St. Louis Blues, and who's done work for the St. Louis Cardinals and the Seattle Mariners. Ken Wilson to me is the perfect sports announcer. He had an interesting run in St. Louis that was about 20 years, highlighted by a number of classic calls from some great Blues teams in the late 90s and early 2000s, and ended up leaving St. Louis in kind of a bitter haze. There was some friction between him, I think, and just the broadcast, sort of world and opportunities and all this stuff that's kind of been lost to history. But growing up, and I don't even really announce hockey, partially because of what my last name is. I just couldn't bear, to give people the opportunity for those puns.
That's perfect. Come on, man. Come on.
But I look at, well, I'll tell you a story about that. But when I listen to Ken Wilson, I am brought to tears still. He has a way of evoking emotion that goes beyond sort of what you can teach. He had the perfect voice. He had the perfect grasp, it seemed, on every moment. And Ken Wilson, he doesn't pop up a lot in sort of people, Vin Scully and Doc Emmerich, and sort of all these people that always get cited. Ken Wilson, I don't know anything about his personal life, though I do know he started the River City Rascals, the first independent team that I worked for back in the late 90s. I think he was the first owner. But Ken Wilson, I believe, is a flawed individual. He had sort of this angry sort of departure from St. Louis, and he had kind of some negative clouds that followed him. But the geniuses always do. I mean, the people who push art forms forward are almost never appreciated in their own time, and he doesn't get the appreciation that he really needs. As they say, Van Gogh killed himself in a cornfield. He had only sold 1 painting. It's harder for those people who are ahead of their time in some ways, or who bring the art form in their own time to a higher level to gain that kind of appreciation. Can I give you the Zanaboni story?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my dad, same last name, when you know it. And he, when I was a kid, we lived in Nashville briefly, and it's right around the time that the Predators came to Nashville. And I was driving to school one day. Yes, I was driving as a third grader, but no, my mom was driving me to school, and all of a sudden on the radio, they're giving away a prize. Get a ride dragged on the back of a Zamboni in like a little pool float. And somebody calls in and says, "Hey, we got a guy here at work named Zamboni." And we all looked around the car like, "Well, isn't that a coincidence?" Well, they were talking about my dad. And somebody from his job called in, and the radio host said, "Well, we have to give it to this guy if his name's Zamboni." My dad didn't take it. He said, "That's not my last name. I can't accept it." He never appeared to claim the prize.
Oh man, so you missed out on that. That's not. See, come on,
Well,
Dad.
he missed out. He missed out on that. I was just along for the car ride.
So what is your dream job?
Well, I think the St. Louis Cardinals, doing it for them. But in this day and age, and going forward in the future, the days of the 50,000-watt radio tower and the one man in a suit is kind of starting to fade. The broadcast game is changing, and I think if I had to say dream job, I'd say, well, the Cardinals, and to do it on KMOX or to do it on Fox Sports Midwest or something like that. But my dream for the industry is that the industry starts to embrace the individualistic side of sports announcing and can sort of go outside of the traditional parameters, because I just don't know that that has the appeal for the coming generation. Popular study that just came out a couple of weeks ago says that the average age of a baseball fan is 57 years old, and in 2000 it was 50 years old. So their fans are aging pretty rapidly, and baseball needs to find ways to get younger. It has to find ways to get weirder too. And with the internet being what it is and social media being what it is, I think that the very notion of the sportscaster has to change a little bit. And I just hope that it changes a little bit to where I feel like I can be myself and have the sort of rollicking good time that I'm known for, and hopefully make a few dollars for it.
Well, I always like the videos that you post on LinkedIn too, like of some of your stuff. And it's like, I'm like, what the hell is this? This is good stuff though. Like,
Right.
you know what?
Right.
It's entertaining, and
Mm-hmm.
it fits. So, do you have like a YouTube channel that you just upload stuff to, or like clips,
YouTube
or
and Twitter. Yeah, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter,
yeah,
Facebook. One of the things I've always get, people sometimes will reach out to me on LinkedIn like I'm a branding guru or a marketing guru, and that's
right,
actually somewhere that I feel like I could improve quite a bit, because I don't have kind of a centralized. I don't have a website. I don't have
why not,
one
man?
YouTube channel. Well, see, I think I have to get better, but I think that deep down, maybe my struggle here, and maybe this is just I've been, in my 20s and so forth. Is I've seen sports announcing as a way to get away from people's expectations. I've seen sports announcing as a way to stay off the radar. I just felt like when I took my first sports announcing job, I remember the day before I left for Wichita from St. Louis, I deleted my Facebook and my Twitter and my LinkedIn. And I wasn't very active on social media for a year. Oh, and I was happy, because I just felt like there's just sort of the games,
Right.
and you just sort of do the games. And, I sort of slowly got, sucked back into it. I manage these things when you do these jobs. You kind of manage the social media portals and so forth. And it gets to be kind of a lot. I always think about the thing from Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. And there's a character who just says, everyone's always staring at blue screens. He's talking about television all day. And by the end of the day, you're just so worn out, you can't even think of anything for yourself. And, I feel like, though, I have to mature as a career kind of a person in order to find more success. So I think I have to get much more centralized with it, and much more, I have to get a lot hashtag better on social media.
Well, I mean, it's like, but that's, like these short clips, like you got one on here, little over 20 seconds. I mean,
right.
People spend time on that kind of stuff,
Right.
and, it's funny, you know, I mean, some of the stuff that you got out there, man, I love it. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you reached out, because it's like, man, I've been, like I said, I've seen them, and I was like, man, who is this guy?
Right. Well,
And
that's what I love too. I love it when people don't really know who you are. The greatest writing and such. And maybe again, maybe this is just immaturity, but what is it that Mark Twain once said? The three greatest writers are gathered at the pearly gates, and it's Dante, Homer, and some hillbilly from the woods of Tennessee who nobody knows. And that's the truth. Is that there's greatness all over. I'll tell you, when I was working at Kahoma Community College in Clarksdale, Mississippi, for 3 years, 2014 to 2017. It's the smallest community college in Mississippi. It's sort of in this very tiny town called Clarksdale, and there was this player there. There were two players in that conference that were, basketball that just blew your mind. One of them was Daryl Macon, who now is on the Dallas Mavericks. He played at Arkansas and helped them go deep into the NCAA tournament. The other one was a guy who played at Kahoma. And in my time at Kahoma, we were 0-22, 5-18, and 5-18 in 3 years of men's basketball. So we didn't have a lot of team success, but we had this one guy. His name was DeJuan Fowler, and DeJuan had something that can't really be categorized. He had a way of anticipating the game. He was so fluid, and he was a genius, really on the court. And it was like watching something, divine almost within him. He had some struggles. His mom had substance abuse problems, and he, sort of moved around as a kid and had all these struggles, I suppose, poverty and the like. And DeJuan never ended up playing a full season at a 4-year university. And he was every bit as good as Daryl, who ended up playing in the NBA. And I think that, there's some truth to that saying, that the greatest athletes, we never know them. They never make it to the surface of the professional game. And sometimes I worry, that, the more exposure you get, the more you have to play to that type. And I do, with the Clips, I don't know, sometimes it just feels like now I'm just out there, sort of playing to what people want to hear. I have kind of a formula for doing them.
gotta give the fans what they want, man. Come on.
Exactly.
Listen,
exactly.
I mean, the way I look at this is, it's appealing to a different demographic that maybe normally wouldn't even listen
Care.
or watch.
Right.
And,
Right.
I've got a 16-year-old son. Well, he'll watch your videos about that stuff, but if it's just a game and there's got to be something to it, and I think that's the challenge right now. Is, like you said, the average age is up there, and we need that younger generation to get into it somehow. The younger generation's into all these the videos. I mean, I see all these kids, they're always watching YouTube or whatever. And they're watching some, it's dumb. Some of the stuff is just dumb. Like, I guess it's because I'm old and I don't get it. I'm 41. Yeah. It's like, I don't get it, but you have to, there's got to be a way to attract those people and then, get them into it. But I think what you're doing is just, it's unique, and it's kind of like, it's different. And so,
it has appeal for the casual. It has appeal for the casual fan, for sure. I think those are the people who really kind of come up to me, after the games. I've been listening to every word you've been saying the whole summer. Hey, how you doing? And
now, do the old timers get pissed? I mean, are they kind of like,
no?
Okay.
The old people love me. I advertise myself as the play-by-play guy your grandma loves, and the grandmas do love me. Sometimes too much. I used to work at a nursing home, so I know all the tricks. But hey, watch out there. Here's a fact about nursing homes. I'm just going to say this. I never encountered this in my time working in a nursing home. No personal experience, but just reading the academic literature. Sexually transmitted diseases are through the roof at most nursing homes. Oh my gosh, you would be
big time
shocked. Oh, you would be shocked. Nothing else to do there.
Check out the villages in Florida. I think that's like the number one spot in the country.
Boy, Oh boy, if my kids want to punish me one day, they can just toss old grandpa down there to the villages, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I think it's more the middle age, folks.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so hard to say. I can't ever get a grasp on the demographics. I think in minor league baseball, I'll just put. I know you're in minor league baseball, so I mean, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I think sometimes in minor league baseball, I think some people just don't get it, and there's this kind of they want things that are different, and then you hear these clips, and you're like, okay, now what is this? I don't even understand where some of this stuff is coming from. And I think it makes people nervous. Now I also will say there's some people in minor league baseball, they can't get enough of it. They're clamoring for it, they're loving it. But I think it does make some people a little bit nervous. So I can't say for sure.
Do you keep the same style with the college programs as well, or
yeah,
did they let
they
you?
want that
Okay,
stuff.
really?
Want
Okay.
it. Well, yeah, oh sure, but usually they're nervous too. I don't
They're
have
like, oh man, are we gonna get sued by this
yeah.
kid?
I have a lot of people beating down the door. I have opportunities, but I have to really kind of dig them up. And usually, what happens when somebody hires me or gets close to hiring me is they say, we kind of go along, and finally the elephant in the room is, hey, I saw a video. You said flashing the leather like a nudist colony on a dude ranch retreat. Are you sure you want to say that kind of thing? And I said, well, I've been on a few dude ranch retreats in my life, and I'm just talking about what I know. So, I mean, it's funny stuff. I don't ever think I crossed the line, though. Bob Menery, he takes clips from ESPN or from nationally televised games and puts them out there, and I describe his humor. Can I curse here?
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, he said, I described his humor as what the fuck humor. He just takes these kind of crazy plays and he'll just say, what the fuck was that? And everybody kind of laughs at it. And I mean, it's funny in its own kind of narrow way. And Bob seems like he's kind of a deeper guy. I don't think it's really reflected in his work, but with me, it's not, I only put the funny stuff on social media because I'm scared of sometimes putting the deeper stuff. I put up a video today on Twitter of kind of like a reflection on minor league baseball that was very serious. And I have these chapbooks of poetry that are, really serious and depressing that I've written. And so, for me, I think that's what makes people more nervous is just, I'm just going to do whatever I feel like that day, and one day they might turn on the radio and I might just be doing, a funeral dirge. They have no idea. But the colleges, oh yeah, well, they want it. I mean, I remember when one college hired me and they were nervous about it. And I think it was after the soccer season, they said, our coach was from Scotland. And he said, there are people in Scotland and England and Ireland who are waking up at like 2 a.m. And they're just, what is this guy going to say tonight? They have to have it. They need it. And I remember I was talking to Eduardo Perez. This is real. It was a real quote. Talking to Eduardo Perez at the winter meetings about 6 months ago. And I looked him dead in the eye and said, Eduardo, what's the key to sports broadcasting? What is it that people want? And he said, get them addicted to it, make it their heroin. And with me, I feel like that's kind of been a guiding light, both before and sort of crystallized when he was talking about it, because I don't want people to like it. I don't want people just to put it on the background and sort of pitter patter. Hey, swinging a drive. There's another long ball. I want people to be grabbing at their computer and saying, what is he going to say right now? And putting their earphones in tighter to say, I got it. The next thing is, I want people who want to listen, not just people who are hearing baseball broadcasts. And that zeal, that can be a little bit unnerving for some. But I'm doing my best to try to, get it out there in a palatable way.
So during a baseball game, are you being creative the entire time? Is there like old school in there mixed with your your creative words? I mean, how is it?
Well, there's some full games. I think I need to be better at advertising this, but really most of the games are just regular.
Normal? Come on, man.
but it's so keyed up. It's very energetic. And then when something happens, I'll rip off the one-liners. And
Right.
sometimes, I'll just start going on a tangent and just talking about whatever is, on my mind. But I think one thing I take pride in is, again, there is no, I have a formula for the one-liners, but there's no formula for what I think will make a good broadcast. I was just doing a Little League game last week, and I started to quote from Emily Dickinson. And talk about a great anonymous writer. Emily Dickinson spent 55, 57 years of her life, writing these poems and filling up, book after book after book. And she died, and her sister burnt all her letters, or most of her letters. And then, all of a sudden, hey, what's in that accordion folder over there? And it's all these poems that have become part of the great American tome. And so, I'll pretty much do or say anything. I sing all the time. I read Emily Dickinson, whatever comes up.
So what is your most popular or, your favorite line that you've had in any of your broadcasts?
Well, these lines are like my children. Like
you love them all.
I've had millions of children, more children than sands on the beach or stars in the sky. But the one that really I always look back on, probably the funniest one would be we won a pretty tight game with the Cardinals, and Walker Robbins, our closer, got a strikeout. I said, breaking this off like I had to do when I got catfished by that 54-year-old high school gym teacher. Hey, she said she was a 54-year-old high school history teacher. Had to cut it off right there. I think that was one that I loved. And then I think the one, we clinched the divisional series against Bristol, and we had such a contentious time with them, just pitchers throwing at our hitters, and we were jawing with them, and neither team did a very good job of de-escalation, but it's hot and everybody's pissed. And we beat them in the divisional series. It was kind of slugfest. It was 10-8. We turned a double play 5-3 DP with first and second with a 2-run lead. So we were a little bit of hot water. We got the last out. I said, Cardinals win, dog milk, 2% unpasteurized, dog formula. Hey, either that dog milk got me seeing double, or the Cardinals just turned 2 to win the divisional series.
Oh my God.
You go to the Appalachian League title game. It didn't make sense to people online if they had been following a team, but all the people who were listening, that was almost like the next logical step, was just, this makes perfect sense in the context of the season. And I think I told somebody on the team, if we win, I'm just going to scream out dog milk, it kind of worked out.
Do you have things like written down like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have like a nice binder full of notebook full of one-liners.
I don't save them. I tear them up after the game, and I try not to repeat them outside of the home run catchers, block it, cock it, rock it, restock it. I do. There's some overlap. There's a couple documents on my laptop that I kind of keep, but I do a printout of things that happen, every game, like strikeouts, home runs, great fielding plays, and I write about 5 or 6 things in each category before the game, and I try to come up with stuff. That's really the fun of it to me. Yeah. And the key, they say don't do that in sports announcing, don't bring in the but the key is if you can learn to drop them in at the right moment. And so it took me, after I started doing that, I didn't do that for probably the first 3 or 4 years I was announcing. Then I said, what if I started writing some of this stuff down before? And, I kind of went through the trials and tribulations of burning them too early, not saying it at the right time, whatever. And eventually I kind of just settled into this formula. But I have to have, I use tape, I use duct tape or painter's tape. I have to have it, right there, so I can just real quick identify it, hey, say it, and then put it out there. But I come up with them, and I don't just write them, I rewrite them, 4 or 5 times, because I know that one word, could change the whole thing.
That's pretty cool. And that's where your poetry comes in handy, I'm sure, too.
100%.
Having that. That's awesome. Well, you need a website, man. We got to get you a website up or something. I mean, because
LCRR.com.
Yeah, let's go. Do you have that registered?
No, I don't have
No.
any pictures.
Come on.
I don't have anything. I know.
Let's go. You got all this good content, man. It's all about having good content. You got it.
And centralizing that. That's right.
Yeah. Just so people can keep going to you. I think it would be a good spot. I mean, I see it flow on, LinkedIn, but you don't post that much on there.
Yeah. I've been a little bit down to last, during this coronavirus.
And I guess, there's not much going on right now, but.
Well, it is. I mean, I have all these, games and stuff that I've done. I kind of, I'm always saying I have to go back and harvest hey, remember the one where you're like, hey, nailing it like a pedicure in a Home Depot bathroom? I got to go back and get that at some point. But, I feel like I've been a little bit, I've been down, Andrew, to be honest. It's part of the reason I wanted to come on this podcast because I'm looking for guidance in the world of being unemployed and so forth. But it's not, it's not just being unemployed. You work in my business, you're not really making the big bucks or anything like that. There's not a ton of financial security even when you have a job. So it's not really that. It's just I've been looking for that spark, and looking for that deeper meaning, to sort of propel me forward.
Well, I mean, this for me, getting this podcast going, it's kind of like out of my comfort zone. This is, I've owned teams. I'm currently a VP of sales for minor league baseball. I'm not on the broadcast, side. I'm not good at that stuff, but it's kind of pushing me, and, it's been great just to be able to meet some cool people like yourself and, hear these stories. Cause it's just good. You see this stuff. I mean, on LinkedIn and stuff, and it's just been good. I mean, it's been good to connect, especially during this quarantine. Hell, I've never used Zoom so much in my life. I use it every day now.
Really? Oh, yeah. I've only probably used it about 6 or 7 times in this entire quarantine.
I used it twice a day. We stopped, but I did a morning and an evening, like an end of the day meeting with my sales team. So like 9 a.m. Hey, every morning we have a 10-minute, 15-minute, hey, let's wake your ass up. Let's make sure everybody's awake. Right. We got work to do. And then 4:00 was, what'd you do today? Yeah. And just, again, short, but just, a lot of these people, sales reps that I have are new to this area. So they moved here for this job. They're, right out of college, or not far out. So they don't have family around here. So just trying to keep them up. I mean, it's easy to get down and just in a rut, and we've been able to kind of really keep them motivated, and we've done well as a team. So but yeah, I used Zoom maybe a handful of times before that, and now I'm using it for the podcasts and everything else. Good way to record stuff.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, I didn't even know Zoom existed, to be honest with you.
It's like, where did Skype go? Everybody was on Skype forever.
I graduated college in 2013, and that was, I guess, really before iPhones had completely taken hold, and so people were Skyping all the time on laptops. And now I look back and said, what happened to Skype?
Exactly. The forgotten service.
Yeah.
Still there, I guess.
I have it. I still have it on this computer. I would love to.
I do too. I've got it. Just nobody uses it now.
Yeah.
I tried to a few times, and I'm like, this is easier. Way easier. Well, man, I enjoyed chatting. I want to help. I want to see you get a website going. I want to see. I mean, you need to develop yourself. Yeah. I mean, you've got it. You know what I mean? You do. Right. You have something that people want, that you can entertain people. Yeah, you definitely, and even, a podcast or a show for yourself. I mean, I see your day 46 quarantine video, up there and some stuff. Cool. I mean, but that's cool stuff. And, it's shows your personality, and, it's just cool. So I encourage you to go after that.
Well, thank you very much.
But let's definitely keep in touch, and I'm going to keep watching for those funny lines.
And for all your followers out there, hashtag LCRR will link to all of them across all social
LCRR.
media.
Okay.
LCRR, lock it, cock it, rock it, restock it. Probably the least remembered hashtag in the history of 4-letter hashtags. Yeah, that's one thing I just don't. I chose LCRR. I thought, boy, hey, it's the easiest 4 letters. And people are, hey, what is that thing, LCR that you're doing? LCCR that you're doing? Not close enough. But yeah, lock it, cock it, rock it, restock it is, well, it's sports announcing for the rest of us. Lock it, cock it, rock it, restock it isn't looking to appeal to the traditional parameters. Vince Scully, when he retired a few years ago or a couple of years ago, passing of an era. Vince Scully was a fine sports announcer, but the world is changing. And now the world has to look to more individualistic voices that will match the individualistic opportunities of limitless technology. Sports announcing is a form of American expressionism, and LCRR is only trying to embrace the marrow and the sucking of it, in the words of Henry David Thoreau. This is about sinking our teeth into the joy of sports and not just the imitation of tradition. And so I think there is deeper meaning to it, though often it can be, subsumed in just the absurdity of the lines. Hey, crushing it like excessive skin shedding did with my dream of becoming the assistant manager at Burger King. Stuff like that. There's a deeper sort of, American originalism in the tradition of Walt Whitman or an Allen Ginsberg, someone like that. And so, I really hope people check it out. Hashtag LCRR.
Yeah, and I'll link to your LinkedIn profile and Twitter. So
okay,
we'll
thanks
get
a lot.
people out there. But all right, man, we'll keep in touch. I'll send you a link in a few days.
All right. Well, hey, thanks again for having me. All right, Dad. Talk to you soon.